Welcome back to Wall Again, where passion meets music. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. So this week we are looking at Black Sabbath's debut album,
Yeah.
just called Black Sabbath. So let's go around the houses there. We'll start with you, Eric. What's your favorite song, and what do you think of the album overall?
Okay, so I'm a massive Black Sabbath fan, have been since I was really young. I remember I have memories of my dad's going around the house rocking out to Black Sabbath. So they're definitely in there for me. I love this album as a debut. It's not only iconic for the genre, like it pretty much invented a new genre of heavy metal. I just love the lore about the band. Um, you're saying the name of the song Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath on the band Black Sabbath. It actually they went through a whole heap of name changes. Back in the day, they were originally called the Polka Talk Band, or,
Yeah.
sorry, the Polka Talk Blues Band. Um, Before they kind of became the infamous Black Sabbath. And I don't know if you guys have listened to Ozzy's audiobook. He goes into the whole story there, but pretty much he got that name from sitting in the bathroom looking at
Yes.
talcum powder.
Yes.
His man is talcum powder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they came up with the name Earth. Ozzy hated that name.
Yeah.
I think Geezer came up with that name, and I think Tommy Iommi actually left the band for a short time. He went over to Jethro Tull,
Yeah.
and there's footage of him playing at the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. You can actually see that on YouTube. It's actually brilliant. And then he came back, and there was a film out at the time, and it was an Italian movie called Black Sabbath. And they thought it was brilliant that people go and watch horror movies. Um, they weren't really a band that wrote dark music or anything like that, but they wrote a song inspired by that movie, and they used the tritone, which is the three notes down, 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 and it's known as like the it's like the Devil's Awakening or whatever it's called. So they got associated with the cult that way, but none of them were into like worshipping Satan or anything like that. But yeah, it's a fantastic story. Go and listen to the Aussie audiobook. It's really really cool. But anyways, as an album goes, it's just an incredible listen. I don't think there's a bad song in this album. I'm really into that vibe, that rock and roll raw sound. The best song on the album is the opening track. It's iconic. It's just that the church bell. It's setting the tone, the tritone, just brilliant. Then it goes into the wizard, just the class on harmonica and all. I just love that song so much. It's really really cool. Um, and it was I'll let you guys talk about some of the songs, and we kind of go around all of the different tracks in the album. But for me, it's a masterpiece out of it.
Brilliant. Like I can just see the passion coming out there, Eric.
Yeah.
You really love this one. The t-shirt and everything,
So,
brilliant.
yeah.
Right, Gav, over to you.
Yeah. First, Eric, have to give you a big shout out, man. I'm on the last chapter of the audio book. You mentioned it on one of our chats before, and I'm loving it. He's
Yeah.
a madman.
Oh,
So,
crazy man. Some of the stories are hilarious though, aren't they?
oh man, I'm literally like driving and like tears coming in my eyes with some of the stories. Like, brilliant. Um, for me, this album I never really listened in depth ever. I don't think. I don't know why, but this is like really the first time that I've really, really listened to the band. So, I think I'm going to upset a few people. The Black Sabbath intro, right? Is Eric gone? Is he?
I think
No,
he's still
sir.
listening.
Oh, your video's gone. Um, I think okay. I think it's too long. I think the effects at the start are cool and gives you an insight of what the whole band is about. But for me, I just think it goes on too long for an intro. It is cool, but like, what is it, 4 or 5 minutes long? I don't know. I think it could have been shorter. Like that's been really critical. Like, but it's cool. The thunder and lightning, all that is brilliant. And I believe
Yeah,
the band weren't even sure that that was going to be on. If I'm right in saying in the book, when they
yeah,
got it back from the master and whatever, they were like, "Oh, the thunder and lightning." But
yeah,
it's cool. But for me, a little bit too long. The wizard as well, the harmonica, I thought was cool. I thought it was a little bit too much repetitive. The riff on that track. Like it's the same thing, just kind of over and over and over. It's cool. Like, this is fine details that I'm like, I remember listening to it going, all right, give me something else, man. It's the same riff over and over and over and over and over. Like, it's a cool riff, but I'm not shitting on this album. I'm going to skip on to my favorite, Nib.
Yeah, Deadly Chunk.
Fucking
The bass
masterpiece.
riff. Yeah.
It's
He was there.
absolutely fantastic. It's so good. You know, it's my favorite by a mile. Love the riff, love the lyrics, the solo. For me, Tony finally explodes in this one. And funny, listening to it, I found or I picked up on maybe that Kirk Hammett would have got some influence from that track on that solo.
Yeah.
I could hear a lot of Metallica stuff on that they probably pulled a lot of influence from. I know
Yeah.
the band have admitted it, you know, but I really love that.
They cover Sabre Cadabra.
Yes,
I know it's a later album,
yes,
but they covered that.
yes,
And
yes,
they
yes.
went into there's another song. It's the song after that. They done like Metallica done a mashup of the two of them
Sabbath,
together.
Bloody Sabbath, was it?
Yeah,
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 great
yeah.
song. Love it. Yeah,
But my two favorite, without rambling too long, I'm gonna go with Nib and Warning. Good, love Warning. I love that
yeah.
blues.
One stuff, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Blues guitar at the end.
yeah, and the production, the bass, like you said, the distortion and everything, and the overall sound of the drums is
The drums are amazing. Yeah, Will
unbelievable.
Ward, like he was a very underrated drummer for his time. He's very very good.
But the sound is key for a debut album. From going by the book, there wasn't a lot of thought put into it, and not a lot of money put into it either. But my Jesus,
Yeah,
did they make an album?
yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. I'll let Marcus go on.
Yeah, I haven't listened. I haven't listened to this album much at all before this. I knew about 3 tracks of it, but not from the album, so I'm not really sure where I knew them from. Um, and So I think it was nearly my first listen. Where certainly sitting down and concentrating, it was definitely my first listen. I felt the only way what just kept coming to my mind when I was listening to it was, this is just a hard blues album.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just a blues album. It's like Black Sabbath hadn't found Black Sabbath yet.
Yeah,
And it's probably the nearest they got to it was the song Black Sabbath. But the rest of it was just blues rock, just a heavy blues rock with just like sprinkles of the Black Sabbath magic that wasn't quite cemented in place yet.
Yeah.
So I just enjoyed it for it being a blues album. That's the way I ended up looking at it. And this is really going to annoy some people. I was listening to it like a blues album, but when I came to that point, I started listening to it on headphones because I was listening to it in the car. And when I started listening to it in headphones as a blues album, I really got into the groove of it. I thought the bass and the drums, there was a really good groove between them two. Really good musicians. The bass player is fantastic. And this is the bit that's probably going to annoy people. When I got into the groove and enjoyed it, Ozzy's voice started to annoy me. It didn't match what the album was, which was a hard blues album, hard rock blues album. And that's where it didn't quite match up with the Black Sabbath and hadn't quite found themselves yet, where they could match Ozzy's vocals with their sound musically. That's what I got out of it. And there was only 1 or 2 tracks where I just thought Ozzy nailed it. The rest was like he was trying to do something, but it didn't work with what the song was. And I think as you go on with the Black Sabbath albums, they kind of come out of the blues a bit more. It's always there in his playing, but they come out of it where it's that really noticeable that it suits Ozzy's vocals way better.
yeah,
So for me, there was a number of tracks where Ozzy's vocals didn't match the band.
Yeah.
Now, my favorite track, because it's the most Black Sabbath track, is Black Sabbath. I loved Nib as well, but I thought that was the one that was closest to what I believe is Black Sabbath. I didn't get the song. I didn't get Sleeping Village. Just didn't do it for me. I was like, I don't know what they're trying to do here. It's like that was a mashup of 3 different things, and that was really when Ozzy's voice was starting to annoy me. Which, like, don't get wrong, I love Ozzy, and like I know he's no tenor or anything like that, with his vocals, but there's a market for his vocals. There's a niche for his vocals. I've no problem with his vocals, but just on this album, it was like, God, I hadn't experienced this from Ozzy before. So yeah, so Sleeping Village, that was the one that was the least, and Black Sabbath was my favorite track. So I hope I haven't annoyed too many
There's a bit
people.
of like what I do like about the album, like there's melodic parts in there, and that song Sleeping Village, like I love the kind of it's real melodic, it's real. Like I hear Pantera in there, because I know Pantera covered like Planet Caravan later on
Yeah.
in the next album, but I can hear how all these bands got their influence and sound, and that's the reference point, for me. It's back. This is where it started, like
Oh,
fantastic breakdowns,
I could hear
amazing
Metallica, the Black
breakdowns.
Album from Sleeping Village.
Yeah.
I was getting that buzz off it. There was definitely an influence on them from there. I just didn't know what they were doing with the song. I couldn't get what they were doing with the song.
I could get Nothing Else Matters from the strumming, whatever way he was strumming on the.
That's exactly what I got as well.
Yeah.
For people who don't know as well, so what's so unique about Black Sabbath sound actually came from Tommy Iommi. He had an accident when he was younger, and he sliced his finger off, and he has like a prosthetic finger. So when he's playing the guitar, it's like the way he's pressing down on the strings and stuff. It gives a different sound. That's how they're able to get their infamous Black Sabbath sound. It's really cool, like but pure by accident, and they invent a whole new different way of playing guitar. Like.
Yeah, amazing.
Very good. So yeah, I think it's amazing, start to finish. There's not one thing I would change about this album.
Yeah.
I'll suppose take you back to when I was 10, and I first became aware of Black Sabbath. My mom's cousin was home from Australia, and he was a big metalhead, loved Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and all that good stuff. So we were talking about music or whatever. I had gotten some tapes and stuff for Christmas, and he was kind of saying, "Oh, have you ever heard of Black Sabbath?" And I was like, "No, never heard of them." Obviously, 10-year-old. And he said, "Oh, you should listen to this." So he put on Black Sabbath, the first song, for me, and it's just like, as a 10-year-old, I was like, "Wow, that's like cool." But I think my folks were kind of like, no, go listen to Bon Jovi. Don't be listening to Black Sabbath, like,
That was like it was bad, My mom was the same around, like, when my dad had Black Sabbath on. Don't be playing that because it's associated with the devil, or it's
I
not
think
really.
just the whole thing around it wasn't something a 10-year-old should be listening to. So that was it. It was kind of parked, and I went about my business with Bon Jovi and Oasis and whatever else, and then I was starting to get into started playing guitar then, and going to college, and then a mate of mine in college had the Ozman Cometh, which was like Ozzy's best of, but on that they had Black Sabbath and they had War Pigs.
War Pigs, yeah, I've done albums.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great album, great introduction. So he gave me a load of that on CD, and I recorded it on tape, and I was listening to that and I was like, geez, this Ozzy is class. Like, and there was Randy Rhoads stuff on it. There was Zakk Wylde stuff on it. Like, it was the whole back catalogue of Ozzy. And I was like, this is really, really good. But like the Black Sabbath stuff is like really, I'm really clicking with that. So when I got a few quid then, I went out and bought War Pigs. And then when I got a few more quid, I went out and I was trying to go through the whole Black Sabbath back catalogue. So I got the first album and I got Master of Reality. And I got the first one, Ronnie James Dio, Heaven and Hell, I think it's called. And I kind of stopped there. I didn't end up getting the back catalogue. But when I got this album, then it was probably in my 20s, and I listened to it on repeat. I remember listening to it thinking, like, everybody raves about War Pigs, but like this is better than War Pigs. Like, it's more consistent than War Pigs. It's just class. It doesn't put a foot wrong. Why does it not put a foot wrong? Well, for me, like, you mentioned the drums. The drums are outstanding on this album. Bill Ward is one of the most underrated drummers of all time, in my opinion. Bonham gets his dues. Ian Pace gets his dues. But why does Bill Ward not get mentioned in the same breath as those two drummers? I cannot understand his groove, his fills. He's so heavy. He's propelling all those songs. It's just class. And the great thing about Sabbath as well, AC/DC would have taken inspiration from this, playing chords but leaving space for fills to come in, drum fills to come in, or a vocal line to come in, all of that sort of stuff. Like that's all over this album. It's absolutely brilliant. You know, the way they have arranged the riffs and the songs, like they don't sound that hard to play, but to play it and have it tight, that's what's hard.
Yeah.
Tony Iommi, obviously, the man is an absolute legend and a genius. And to be honest, like I don't really want to talk about the influence they've had on everyone else because that's just like we all know Black Sabbath has influenced everyone, and that's like everybody knows that. So like, let's just talk about how great Black Sabbath are. Not that
Yeah.
they must be great because all these other bands look up to them. No, like let's dissect Black Sabbath. Why are Black Sabbath great? And the reason they're great is because Tommy Iommi, like he's just a brilliant guitarist and he's able to write these fantastic, catchy, heavy riffs. And then, of course, when you overlay that with Geezer Butler being a fantastic bass player, having great
Yeah, he's
groove,
brilliant. Yeah.
and also being able to put in all these like fills. He's putting fills in all these different places. And the way that's locking in with Bill Ward is just propelling these songs. So it's got a heavy riff and it's all like a lot of it's blues based and a lot of the guitar solos are based around the E minor pentatonic scale or the minor pentatonic scales. It's not incredibly technical,
Complex. Yeah.
but it just sounds amazing. And like at that time, you had Cream, you had Led Zeppelin, you had The Who, but like nobody sounded like Black Sabbath. Like
Yeah.
they were out on their own. They sounded completely different to all those other bands. And maybe that's because, you know, they didn't like go down the folk route. Even though there's elements of folk on this album, they didn't go down that route. They didn't go down the full on blues route, you know. They didn't go down like the classic rock route. They were going something different. And that's what you get on this album. They probably I take some of what you're saying, Marcus. They didn't really know what they were doing. Yeah, there probably is a bit of that in this album, but it still works. I think it still works perfectly. My favorite song, you'll probably be surprised to hear, is actually The Wizard, Ozzy on harmonica. Who would have thought that? Like, you know, like if you talk to someone who's like a semi Black Sabbath fan and like, you know, that song that Ozzy does on the first album with the harmonica, and like, what? Ozzy plays harmonica? Didn't know that. Like, yeah, he does, and he's fucking good at it. Like, this is amazing stuff. Great groove, great riff, great guitar solo in that as well.
Yeah.
You know, not overly complex, but serves the song really well. I think it's an outstanding album. Absolutely outstanding, start to finish. Can't fault it at all. And I love it. I'd be interested to see if we keep going through all the Black Sabbath albums. 'Cause I think there's over 20 albums, and a lot of them, some of the band members didn't play. It was just Tony Iommi and a couple of hired musicians.
Yeah.
But this is certainly going to be up there in the top 2 or 3 albums for me. Like it's that damn good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Talk-
there you go. It's
Talking about
fantastic.
Geezer, like his bass playing is phenomenal. Like the songwriting that he's done, like some
Yeah,
people
he's written a lot of songs, yeah.
yeah,
he's very
and then
good.
like going back to the blues stuff, like from listening to the book, like their first couple of bands that Eric you've mentioned, like Ayrton and all that, like they were all blues bands. They were
Yeah.
blues bands, like, and they just kind of evolved. And I think like there's so many, but what if, like, you know, Tony going to Jethro Tull, playing in Wembley, and he just came back? He's like, it's not for me. And they're like, what? You coming back to us? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
like,
He
you know,
thought that was it at that point. They give him
how
up.
that happened, and like
Yeah.
so many things through Ozzy's life has been like, you know, the whole Randy Rhodes accident, and you know how he wasn't killed, and you know all these other things in his life. It feels like Black Sabbath. I know we're talking about Ozzy on his own, but like Black Sabbath was just meant to be. Like there was
Oh,
so
yeah.
many things, like the sign in the music shop, you know, singer, you know, whatever. I forget what it says.
Ozzy Zig needs a gig.
Yeah, like, and he's like, "Oh, I thought you took that down." And like Tony Iommi comes to his door, is like, and he was the big shot. It's so cool how the band formed and how good that they all were and how they did make the blueprint. Like as Rob, you rightly said, like let's not talk about who they influenced, like is what they did. It is so cool, and you can see. I think if we do talk about the next album, you can see the progression starts to tone very fast.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know?
And just
Absolutely, yeah.
it's interesting their place in music. Like I'd be interested in your take, Marcus, because you're of a, you know, you would have been of that time where maybe Black Sabbath weren't considered a great band, maybe, you know, like certainly
Well,
when they were out.
it wasn't a great period of time for them.
Yeah,
Some of the stuff they were coming out with.
like
I was
the
never
80s
a
and
Ronnie James
90s.
Dio fan anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Like I just looking at documentaries and stuff like that. I know when they were out in the 70s, like they were the poor man's Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin. Like they were not considered in the same vein. I think all the dark stuff, the satanic stuff turned people off them a lot, to be honest, especially in the United States. Um,
yeah,
and then when Ozzy kind of went out on their own, they reformed for Live Aid in
Yeah,
1985. If you ever get a chance to look at that, it's very interesting that they did two songs, I think, but they're not in great shape, and they're kind of like Spinal Tap. It's like a piss take. People are like, these
yeah,
guys
yeah,
these guys aren't like Black Sabbath were not respected in the mid 1980s. And then you come into the 90s, and I suppose the grunge lads were interested in what Black Sabbath did, but no one else really cared. And then
yeah,
you come into the internet era, and people are starting bands, and suddenly Metallica, like in 2010, like, oh, it's actually cool to like Metallica again, you know? And Metallica were influenced by Black Sabbath, so now Black Sabbath are cool again. So it,
yeah,
it seems to have come full circle that it's okay to like Black Sabbath. But I remember in the 1990s, like no one knew who Black Sabbath were, and they were considered a very like dark, out there, underground band, you know. So it's good to see that they do get, spoke of in high regard these days. That's great to see.
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
No, I agree with you, but I think one of the things is there was a lot of bigger bands and a lot of snobbery in those bands. I think, like Led Zeppelin was a powerhouse. Even then you got Deep Purple and Rainbow and Whitesnake. They were all kind of the same band members swapping around, and they were doing really well as well. Black Sabbath were out on their own. They were out to the side. So I don't know if they were ever embraced by musicians at their time. Certainly in the 70s, I don't know if they were. So
Yeah.
like even on that performance that Tony done with Jethro Tull, he's there playing away. And then you look at the other cast of characters in that, is the Magical Mystery Tour or something like that? Or not, no, not the Magical, sorry, what the Rolling Stones one? The Circus. Can't remember the name of
Yeah,
it.
the Rolling Stone
Yeah,
Rock and
Rock and
Roll
Roll
Circus.
Circus.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. They
John
didn't look
Lennon
at,
and everything in there, like
yeah, he didn't fit in
huge
there.
move.
I don't even know why he was there. Like,
Yeah,
and even like the singer of Jethro Tull and the flute player, like he didn't even fit in with him. So
Yeah.
I think they're just a bunch of misfits that didn't really fit in anywhere.
yeah,
And I think they played up on that. I think they embraced that and went with it, and that's why they just went feck yous, and we're going to do it our way. You have to admire that,
yeah. You definitely do. You have to admire it.
but I think they were lost in the 80s completely.
Oh,
Yeah,
they kept that band. Well, Tony Iommi tried to keep that band together when the writing was on the wall. But look, if
yeah,
we get, I'd love to go through every album because the lineup changes was incredible. Like people forget
yeah,
Ian Gillan was in that band for 5 minutes and Glenn Hughes was
yeah.
in it for 5 minutes. It's just
yeah.
ridiculous. Like so,
So many different people are in there. Yeah,
yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy
but
stuff.
I kind of feel at that stage it was a payday.
Yeah,
So I don't think those people, those two in particular, I don't think they would have been going anywhere near Black Sabbath earlier on in the 70s.
yeah,
They had their big bands and they were happy where they were. I just don't think they got their fair shot of the music community.
yeah, for sure.
But in fairness, they were well able to give two fingers to them and go like, "Fake as we're doing it our way," and they
Yeah,
did.
What would you rate this album?
yeah. I'll go first. I love it. I love the artwork. Even there's loads of stories about the artwork and mystery throughout it in it. I just love it. It's a great album for me. It's definitely it's not my favorite Black Sabbath album because I love the next one. Like we talked about the top four albums before, and Four Pigs is in there. But I give this a 9 out of 10. It's just brilliant. Savage debut album again.
Cool, cool. Will I go next?
yeah,
Yeah,
I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's 10 is going to be hard to get from me. I'm going to be like that. I'm going to like keep this like 7, 8 is a very good score. Like I don't know what it is. It took me a couple of goes, the first 3 or 4. Like I don't know. Like the Black Sabbath thing. I know I said I just think it was a little bit long, and that's been harsh. The Wizard as well. Behind the Wall of Sleep wasn't for me either. But the second half of the album for me it was an album with two halves. The second half is absolutely brilliant. and I thought it was kind of slow to get going before Nibs, but yeah, 7.
I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10. I don't think they quite. I think it's a little bit of just a generic blues album, heavy blues album, which everybody was doing in England at the time, with a touch of Black Sabbath. They hadn't just quite found Black Sabbath yet, and but they were onto something different. So yeah, 8, 9, and 10s. It has to be very special to be up there. So I'm not just going to lash them out just for the sake of it. So no, 6 for me.
10 out of 10. No skips. Love this album. Wouldn't change anything about it. Listening to it today, and I was like, yeah, it's so good. So let us know in the comments below what you think. If you liked the video, hit the like button. And if you could also subscribe, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.